This is the 5-minute guide to the service lives of the Littorio class battleships of the Italian Navy. This video is a follow-on to a previous video describing the design and armament of the ships, so is best viewed after that video, so you know the specifications of the ships we are talking about. The Littorio and Vittorio Veneto came into service in August 1940 and sailed for their first operational mission at the end of the month in company with a large fleet of 3 older battleships, 10 cruisers and 31 destroyers, to intercept the fast convoy codenamed Operation Hats. This was escorted by an element of the British Mediterranean Fleet, but the Italian fleet was considerably larger. But faulty reconnaissance meant they two sides missed each other, and no battle took place. This would be a pattern for many operations to come, starting with the next operation a month later, which also failed to find any targets. On the 12th of November 1940, the Italian fleet was moored at Taranto harbor when the Royal Navy launched a night attack by swordfish torpedo bombers. Littorio was hit twice and suffered serious damage, eventually needing to be dry docked for repairs that would last until March the next year. Vittorio Veneto managed to escape undamaged and headed out with part of the fleet on the 26th of November, encountering British forces in the Battle of Cape Spartivento. Both sides were roughly equally matched and came away with a couple of ships damaged on either side. The battleship itself evaded a torpedo strike by aircraft, lost a recon plane to a British fighter and briefly engaged British cruisers with her rear main turret. 1941 rolled around, and the year started with a British bomber raid on the ship, but these failed to score a direct hit. With 2 older battleships, the Veneto sailed in February to engage a convoy that turned out to be part of the British fleet, but once again they missed each other. The Germans believed they had disabled 2 out of 3 British battleships in the area with their own torpedo bombers in March, and Veneto therefore sailed to attack convoys heading for Greece. Unfortunately, this was not correct, and the smaller Italian force met the very much intact British battleships at the Battle of Cape Matapan. She was hit by a torpedo bomber from the carrier Formidable after attacking British cruisers. Although slowed down and with significant flooding, the ship was able to make it back to port. The heavy cruiser Pola had also been hit, but was more badly affected. She and her sisters would be caught at night at point blank range by the British battleships and sunk. The Littorio was back in action by now, and a series of attempted convoy raids were conducted by both ships working together, although without success. Then, whilst escorting an Italian convoy, the Vittorio Veneto was torpedoed by a British submarine and had to be docked for repairs. Although the ships were virtually never hit by naval gunfire, they appear to have been torpedo magnets of the highest order. Left alone, the Littorio took part in the first and second battles of Sirte. In both cases, the Italian forces significantly outgunned the British, who only had cruisers present. But the British fought from heavy smoke screens, and in both cases, drew out the fight towards nightfall. Without radar and wary of the lessons of Cape Matapan, the Italian forces withdrew at the end of each battle, although in the second engagement this delayed the convoy the British were escorting long enough for the merchant ships involved to be sunk by air attack the following day. By mid-June, both ships were back in action and attacked numerous convoys as part of Italian fleets, but in these cases only the escorting screens ended up fighting each other. However, on their way back to port, the Littorio was hit by, you guessed it, another torpedo, this time from a Wellington bomber. By the end of the year, the Roma had been completed and joined her sisters, although they did not do much for the rest of the year. In June 1943, all 3 ships were damaged by Allied air raids to varying degrees, but the Italian fascist regime was collapsing, and Littorio was renamed Italia as a result, since the original name referred to the symbol of Italian fascism. By September, the 3 ships along with the bulk of the remaining Italian navy was preparing to sail to attack the Allied forces sailing to invade the Italian mainland at Salerno, but the day before they were due to leave, news came that Italy was out of the war and the fleet was sent to be interned in Malta. On the way, the Germans attacked their former allies with Fritz X-guided bombers. Vittorio Veneto was undamaged by this assault, but Italia was hit in front of the main battery turrets, causing serious damage. Worse still, 2 of the bombs hit the Roma. The first passed through and exploded under the ship, causing heavy damage and slowing it down. The second hit and exploded next to the forward magazines, which themselves exploded, blowing the second main turret completely off the ship, which sank shortly thereafter. The surviving ships were moved to Alexandria shortly after arrival in Malta, then to Suez Canal, where they remained until the end of the war. The incomplete hull of the Emperor had been seized by the Germans and was sunk by bombers in 1945. After the war, the Italia and Veneto were allocated as war prizes, and all 3 remaining hulls were scrapped in 1947 and 1948. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have a comment or suggestion for a ship to review, let us know in the comments below.